Welcome back to Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet. I'm Megan Edwards. Thanks so much for joining us. In today's episode, we're meeting people and organizations who are taking action for environmental and social justice, protecting resources, rights, and livelihoods. Environmental organizations have launched court cases to challenge the South African government based on our constitutional right to an environment that is not harmful to health and well-being. So let's hear from the Deadly Air court case launched in 2019 by two environmental organizations represented by the Center for Environmental Rights.
The Deadly Air case was a case that was launched on behalf of Groundwork and the Bokani Environmental Justice Movement in Action, which is a community-based organization in the Mpumalanga Highveld. That case was launched against various government officials within the Department of Environment, primarily because of the unacceptable, unhealthy levels of air pollution in the Mpumalanga Highveld, to which people living in that area are exposed on a daily basis. For more than a decade, government has had a plan, which it calls an air quality management plan to address the air pollution, and yet there's still been no improvement in the air pollution levels in that area. And we know that by far the biggest contributors to that air pollution are 14 industrial facilities, 12 of which are Eskom coal-fired power stations. So the court case was heard in May 2021, May this year, and we're still awaiting a judgment in that case. If we are successful, we have asked the court to essentially declare and confirm that the air pollution in the Mpumalanga Highveld is in breach of the constitutional right to an environment not harmful to health and well-being. So that will have major knock-on implications and set an incredibly important precedent when interpreting this right to an environment not harmful to health and well-being, which we say is a right that must be realized by government here and now, that everyone has this right, and that on a daily basis that right is being threatened and breached by the unacceptable levels of air pollution in the Highveld, but also in other parts of the country where there's also a lot of pollution. And we've also asked government to essentially publish regulations to address and to implement its plans to reduce the harmful levels of air pollution in the Highveld and in other priority areas. Government has an obligation to uphold and protect all the rights in our constitution, including the right to an environment not harmful to health and well-being, as well as other rights, for example, the right to equality, dignity, life. And all these rights are threatened not only by air pollution as a result of industrial activities and government's decisions, but these rights are also importantly threatened by climate change, which poses severe and significant risks to the people of South Africa, particularly women, children, future generations. And when I talk about the impacts of climate change, I'm talking about impacts that we're already seeing through water scarcity, drought, increased temperatures, increased extreme weather events, increased fires. These are all climate-related incidents, and all projections show that these impacts are only going to worsen in the coming years. And again, it is marginalized sectors of society, it is children, it is women who will be suffering the most as a result of these impacts. And it is important that government in its decision-making processes gives effect to those rights and protects those rights. And unfortunately, in a number of decisions that we're seeing coming from government, we aren't seeing that. We aren't seeing government taking the impacts of the climate crisis seriously. We aren't seeing government taking the necessary measures to ensure that big polluters and big industry comply with their legal obligations to reduce their emissions. We aren't seeing the necessary levels of accountability coming from those who are responsible for these harms.
In 2021, three organizations launched the Cancel Coal court case to stop the South African government from building another coal-fired power station. So let's hear more about the case from the organizations involved, represented by the Center for Environmental Rights.
The significance of launching this case is about advocating for protection of environmental rights contained in the South African Constitution. And also it's about saving the lives of the poor people, community people on the ground. And lastly, it's about reminding the government of its constitutional duties to protect the lives of the people who entrusted it with such a responsibility. So it does have a wider kind of benefits or reasons behind. It's not only about us versus the government, but it's most importantly about people on the ground that are constantly affected by the cold impacts on the ground, and there's no one to listen to them or help them. What we are hoping for is for justice to prevail in court to save the lives of many people, and also hoping for the inclusion of the 1,500 megawatts coal to be withdrawn from the minister's determination and also from the IRP. So we are in short, we are hoping for the government to respect the environmental rights of the people in terms of Section 24 of the Constitution, which provides that everyone has the right to environment that is not harmful to their health and well-being. So we are hoping for the government to protect that rights and respect, for the benefit of people on the ground. The people on the ground are suffering from respiratory diseases caused by the coal impacts and are dying in numbers every year due to those impacts. And now, in so doing, this will force, in this action, in this court case, we are hoping that this will force the government to action its responsibility to protect its own people on the ground. Because remember, the government is the government by the people for the people. So that has to be lived. That statement has to be lived. It's a democratic government where people have a say. But in this instance, it seems to be the other way around. So the government has the bigger voice than the people's. So which is very important that people need to voice need to be realized or recognized. We are saying that I think the government needs to come down to the ground and experience or see what we are seeing and conduct a research which will actually sort of inform them about the impacts on the ground. I'm talking about coal impacts in this instance, so that whenever they make decisions, they can make an informed decisions. And of course, I know that they have read a lot of literatures, researches in different spaces, but I think, books are books at the end of the day, but the life experience is actually, it's something else.
Welcome back. You're still watching Guardians of Gaia, connecting people and planet. And when we come back from the break, we'll hear more about people and organizations taking action to connect people and planet and working in solidarity for a sustainable world.